So I'm the moderator of this event, and between these two speakers, I felt like I'm pretty well informed. But I'm learning stuff just as well as everybody else, and I'm very thankful for these speakers so far. Thank you. So I'm just going to speak a little bit more about Citizens for Responsible Education. I'm going to introduce our final speaker. One of the most effective things that Citizens for Responsible Education has been doing is submitting Freedom of Information Act requests to the local school system. These FOIAs began after somebody notified Citizens for Responsible Education. What's going on here? There we go. These FOIAs began after someone notified the group of an incident involving a diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant named Michael Eastman, or Eatman, who counseled Principal Wolf to call him an N-word during a professional development session with other teachers and administrators. Mr. Eatman is a black man. This obviously made a lot of people present at this meeting quite uncomfortable, spurring this apology, which I apologize you can't see it, but this is an email where Principal Wolf reached out to everybody who was present. He apologized for his use of the N-word. After discovering this was made aware to the group. Citizens for Responsible Education teamed up with another group called Parents Defending Education and began digging into how this consultant was hired and funded. Where'd the money come from, right? So after much back and forth between the school and Citizens for Responsible Education, including a demand that they pay $40,000 to comply with the FOIA request, Citizens for Responsible Education received information that indicated the school paid Eatman from federal funds called ESSER, which were earmarked specifically for COVID-related relief, right? While there appears to be some debate between our group and the school system as to whether this was an appropriate use of those funds, there's one fact that cannot be ignored. When this group uncovered the ESSER funds were allegedly misappropriated, they sent this evidence to Congress, who issued a letter demanding accountability on how ESSER funds are being appropriated throughout the entire state of Massachusetts, and specifically cited Newburyport. From this letter, and I'm quoting from this congressional letter, one particularly bizarre example is from Newburyport, Massachusetts, where the Newburyport Public Schools spent at least $56,800 in ESSER funds to hire a consultant named Michael Eatman. According to documents obtained by the Committee on Oversight and Reform, Republicans, Mr. Eatman's services included coaching a high school principal to use a racial slur in front of other faculty members. Now, I assure you, there are more FOIA requests to come, and I bet you we're going to find all sorts of additional misconduct when we get them back. And on that note, I would like to introduce to you our final speaker, Mr. Michael King from Massachusetts Family Institute. Michael King is the Director of Community Alliances at MFI. He's spoken at about 200 churches in Massachusetts over the past 6 years, educating and inspiring people to get involved in their local schools and government. Michael was thrilled to be part of the historic opt-out sex education movement in Worcester last year. Over 3,800 students opted out of pornographic sex education in kindergarten through 12th grades. He is also excited to be working with about 30 churches across Massachusetts that have decided to start learning centers to meet the educational needs of so many students leaving the public schools in Massachusetts. It's good. Michael hosts weekly video calls on Monday nights at 7:30 and 8 o'clock to educate parents about explicit sex education, school alternatives, and pornographic books in school libraries. For more information about these weekly calls regarding sex education and school alternatives, text the word CHAMPION to 87891. And for the call regarding explicit books in school libraries, text the word books to 87891. I'll provide all this information to you separately at the end. We'll make it available on our Facebook page if you want to get in touch with these people in the future. Without further delay, I'd like to welcome Mr. Michael King.
All right, well, tonight I want you to know real quick that you're not alone and you're not crazy for thinking the way that you do. All right? So I just want you guys to leave encouraged tonight more than anything. Okay. All right, it's coming up here. Just thinking. Okay, so I've had the privilege of speaking at about 200 community groups and churches in the past year. And so we are making a difference, and I think this group tonight, I hope you're encouraged just as much as I'm encouraged to see all of you here tonight. I mean, what we have here tonight is fantastic. The fact that you have protesters outside is fantastic, because you're doing the right thing, all right? So just to give you a little idea of who I am, this is me, my family, 5 kids, so everyone calls me crazy, right? Once you have more than 3 kids, you're officially crazy. But this is my wife Ashley and our 5 children. This is our, at MFI, this is our shared mission dedicated to strengthening the family and the Judeo-Christian values upon which the family is based. Now, we may not all agree faith-wise in a group like this, but I think we're all like-minded regarding the values that we share, and I think we can agree that the family is very much under attack today. I want you to know that you're not alone. So we are the local associate of Focus on the Family. I don't know if you guys have heard of Focus on the Family. We're the local associate. And then also we work with Alliance Defending Freedom. They are an $80 million pro bono Christian attorney organization. So you know the Jack Phillips, the baker in Colorado that was being sued for not baking a cake for a homosexual wedding. Alliance Defending Freedom represented him in the Supreme Court and won. Okay. We also partner with First Liberty Counsel. Liberty Counsel is the one that just won that suit in Illinois, class action suit of 500 employees that weren't given accommodation regarding religious exemption. Okay, so it was the first win for people that, medical people that wanted to have a religious exemption at work, and 500 people won. So you have allies. I just want you to know that, okay? You have allies, you have attorney allies pro bono that can help you. And then also Family Research Council we partner with as well on a national level. So we care about marriage, we care about religious liberty, and we care about the sanctity of life at the beginning of life and the end of life. But tonight we're here to talk about education. So I want to encourage you that in Massachusetts there are 8,000 churches. Did you guys know that? 8,000 churches according to the Secretary of State's office. And I just want to show you some of the places I've been. This is Jubilee. This is in Mattapan. This is a 5,000 member church. Did you guys know there was a 5,000 member church in Boston? Okay, so you're just a little more encouraged, maybe? Okay, the people share your values. This is the mother church of 120 Hispanic churches in Lawrence. Did you guys know there's 120 Hispanic churches in one city in Massachusetts? Did anybody know that? Right? You feel a little more encouraged?
Actually,
right?
I think there's more.
You think there's more? All right, well, you are super optimistic. I love it. This is in Lynn. They call Lynn the city of sin, right? But there's wonderful Hispanic churches, and I'm not just focused on the immigrant church, but the immigrant church in Massachusetts is ginormous, okay? And we've spoken to a lot of these churches. This is an 1,100 member church in the city of Lynn. Did you guys know there was an 1,100 member church in Lynn?
I did.
You did? Okay, you're stealing my thunder.
Pete the pastor is there.
What's that?
Pete the pastor is there.
Okay.
We are down there.
We'll have to talk afterwards. This is the Evangelical Free Church in Westfield, another large church. Just to prove that we've been there, this is me up at the podium. Okay, so I'm not lying. This is an interesting one, guys. This is Full Gospel Church in Westfield. This is an 800-member Russian Pentecostal church.
Wow.
Did you guys know there was a Russian Pentecostal church in Massachusetts? Anybody? I had no idea. There is a huge Slavic population in the western part of Massachusetts that we have really plugged into. This was a 3,000-member event of 4 Hispanic churches that came together in Marlborough. 3,000 people at one event in Marlborough. This is a great church, Hispanic church again in Waltham. We've partnered with this church on several great opportunities there to make a difference on a local level in Waltham. So again, are you just a little bit more encouraged, right, that you're not alone? Okay. So our particular prayer is to protect hearts and minds of our children. Tonight I just want to focus on comprehensive sexual education, sexuality education. Also the surveys were mentioned tonight. And just to kind of give you a picture inside the sex ed of your school, and really go quick on this. So let's start here. What is CSE? Comprehensive Sex Education, okay? CSE does not refer to sex education programs in general, but rather to a specific form of graphic sexuality education. And these are really the three main areas: evidence-based, medically accurate, and age-appropriate. We would make the argument that it's not medically accurate, that it's not evidence-based, and that it's not age-appropriate. It promotes sexual freedom, abortion, high-risk sexual behaviors, and normalizes teen sexual activity. It promotes sexuality based on Alfred Kinsey's research and theories, which asserted sexual rights and the right to sexual pleasure for minors. It is designed to change the sexual and gender norms of society. And the American College of Pediatrics has spoken out against CSE, expressing their concerns for the harms it brings to children and teens. We have analyses of the different sex education curricula at your school, and if you guys text tonight as an example the word Newburyport to 87891, okay, you will get an analysis that we have gotten out of Newburyport for your sex ed program from a FOIA request, okay? So if you want to do that tonight, just text the name of the town, or the city actually, to 87891, and you'll get that information. I think we also have Danvers. Danvers isn't too far from here, so if you want to get another example, text the word Danvers to 87891. So what are we concerned about? There's these 15 harmful elements of CSE. First of all, it sexualizes children. It teaches children to consent to sex. It normalizes anal and oral sex. It promotes homosexual, bisexual behavior, promotes sexual pleasure, promotes solo mutual masturbation, promotes condom use in inappropriate ways, early sexual autonomy, fails to establish abstinence as the expected norm. They will tell you we teach abstinence, but it is just 1/100th of what they teach. Promotes transgender ideology, promotes contraception and abortion to children like saran wrap. Did you guys know this? Saran wrap, and not microwavable, non-microwavable saran wrap as a contraceptive when you're in a pinch. Promotes peer-to-peer sex ed or sexual rights advocacy. Undermines traditional values and belief. Undermines parents. We learned more about that tonight, or parental rights. It refers children to harmful resources. Many of the sex ed programs that are being taught in your schools rate at a 13, 14, or 15 out of 15 on this scale, okay? So we would make the argument that you want to get your kids out of sex ed. Would you guys agree with that? Okay? In any school, okay? And also K through 12, okay? So you guys heard earlier tonight, how many kids opted out of sex ed in Worcester last year? 3,850 kids. That is historic. That is unprecedented. Just to give you, just to compare that 2 years ago, you know how many kids opted out of sex ed before we got involved in Worcester? 5.
Wow.
Okay? So it can be done. Okay? It can be done, and we want to work with you to do that. Because let's get our kids at least out of sex ed. And I just want to talk about just a few of these sex ed programs. So Get Real by Planned Parenthood. Does anyone have an issue with Planned Parenthood teaching sex ed? I mean, does it make sense that Planned Parenthood would teach safe sex? Does that make any logical sense, right? Because if you're Planned Parenthood, what do you make money off of? Abortion. And what do you need for an abortion?
And selling baby parts.
That's true. That's exactly right. But what do you need?
Abortion.
But what do you need for abortion? You need what? Pregnancy, right? Sex, right? So how are you going to get pregnant with safe sex? Does that make any sense? No, you're going to sexualize children so that they have an unwanted pregnancy, because if you get that 12-year-old addicted to your birth control, you've got a client for life. Our Whole Lives, developed by the Unitarian Universalist Association and the United Church of Christ, and Making Proud Choices by Planned Parenthood. Let's just take a look at just a few quotes from these. So this is 6th grade, as young as 11 years old. Discusses getting a girl drunk so a boyfriend can make out with her. Guys, this is 11 years old. Introduces masturbation by older brother. And these are just some examples. Involves scenario with sexually active older sibling, making younger child keep it a secret from parents. This is 7th grade, as young as 12-year-olds. List of dating behaviors include touching under a person's clothes and having sex. again, statutory rape is what? Under 16, right? So are we kind of teaching something that's illegal, right? Could you make that argument? Explains that a dental dam is placed over the vulva or anus during oral sex and that saran wrap can be used for this purpose. Presents role-playing scenario where a boy asks a girl if they can try having sex without a condom and the boy says he can pull out before he comes. Again, that's 7th grade. And I'm going to kind of go, because this is all kind of the same stuff. Here's a chart from grade 8. So here it says weight, okay? This is in the Get Real curriculum. So, okay, they're teaching abstinence. Does abstinence work 100% of the time? Yes. Is it medically accurate? Yes. Should it be taught like 100% of the time? We think so. But these are all the other options, including the Depo shot, which is 3 months of birth control shot into your 12-year-old girl's arm, many times without parental consent. What do you guys need for a Tylenol for your 12-year-old girl at school? You need parental consent, right? But for a Depo shot, you don't need it. Something wrong with that. Also, if you thought that was bad enough, you have this whole other list here, including the dental dam for contraceptive. So are we sexualizing children? Of course we are. Okay, you got to get your kids out of sex ed. It's perfectly normal. This is a book that is the core curriculum for these sex ed programs, especially Our Whole Lives, taught to 10 to 15-year-olds. It contains 67 nude illustrations, including children masturbating, adults having sex, and a male putting on a condom. Many of you guys have probably seen this. This is a very popular book. It just came out with a 2021 edition. Our Whole Lives. This is put out by a church. Okay, grades 4 through 6. So again, age 10 through 12. Divided into 10 workshops. It utilizes the sexuality explicit book as perfectly normal as a core text. Asserts that sexuality is something you have from the moment you are born. A section called When Would I encourages children to consider what age they might be when they watch pornography. Let someone see them nude, bathe or shower with someone, masturbate with someone, or have sexual intercourse with someone. And affirms gender fluidity and non-conformity. And then, guys, just a lot of the same stuff. I won't bore you with all the details, but this is grades 4 through 12. Okay, Our Whole Lives. Making Proud Choices. This is, again, Planned Parenthood. Essentially a how-to manual for sexual activity utilizing role play, encouraging teens to act out various sexual scenarios. Implies that many, if not most, teenagers are sexually active. So again, we're just going to assume you're going to be sexually active. So we have to tell you how to be sexually active in so many different ways because we can't stop you. We can't encourage you to be responsible. This curriculum encourages detailed condom demonstrations using penis models as just ways to make condom use more pleasurable, and so forth and so on. You get the idea. And then a lot of these role plays are again, insinuate behavior. So your parents are out late, your boyfriend or girlfriend comes over, hoping to have sex with you. And again, this is under the age of 16. So again, over-sexualizing our children. CSE is not evidence-based. It does not meet the objective that they say it does. They claim that CSE proponents claim that their approach to sex ed delays sexual debut in minors and decreases unhealthy risk. Guys, do you need a survey to tell you this, right? I mean, this is obvious that this would make kids more sexually active. Out of 60 school-based CSE studies examined, no evidence of continued effectiveness at reducing teen pregnancy or instance of sexually transmitted infections was found because Planned Parenthood needs pregnancy to get to abortion. Does that make sense? Right? Okay. So we'll keep moving. Informed and in charge. This is in many of your schools. This is in Lynn, for example, and they teach quite a few things with this. And again, it comes in many names. So you guys might see this and say, informed and in charge. Well, that sounds okay, right? I mean, the marketing department is genius on a lot of this stuff. Refer students to the sexuality tree. You guys ever hear of the family tree? Wouldn't it be great to have the family tree back in the school? But instead we have the sexuality tree, where students are instructed to discuss and list sexual activities such as fetish, fantasy, pornography, abortion, and sex toys in sections on the worksheet. The top of the tree is for listing items that might apply to the people you are dating or having sex with. And then it refers you to websites like Scarletine that are very pornographic. And there, my friends, is the sexuality tree. I won't get into it, but man, I wish we had the family tree back. The 3 R's is being taught in Revere and Mansfield. This is also being taught in Worcester, where we had 3,850 kids opt out. This is a K through 12 sex ed curriculum. Think about the 3 R's, guys. 3 R's, according to Advocates for Youth, is rights, respect, responsibility. But we would love the 3 R's to be reading, writing, arithmetic, right? And I understand that arithmetic starts with an A, and I understand writing starts with a W, okay? I did go to school a generation ago. 3 R's, like I said, K through 12 curriculum for ages 5 to 18, okay? Kindergarten. And just some quotes, I won't say them all. Let's just go to grade 9, lesson 7, page 1. Ask students, when do you think someone is ready to have sex, either oral, vaginal, or anal, with their partner? Again, grade 9. So be encouraged. Back in 2019, we showed up at the Worcester School Committee. There were about 150 people there. We represented half of those people. This is some pictures from the evening. This is when Planned Parenthood wanted to pass Making Proud Choices in the city of Worcester. We showed up. I read directly out of the curriculum. The name of the worksheet was Redefining Abstinence. It had 35 terms. One of the terms was kissing behind the knees is somehow abstinence, okay? Not going to go into it. But I read the 35 terms, the superintendent sitting right there next to the mayor. Because of our testimony that night in Worcester, they said no to Planned Parenthood, okay? So you can make a difference. And there's just some more pictures from the evening. So many people in attendance. When's the last time you saw a school committee meeting that full, right? Now, all of you guys, if all these people here went to your school committee meeting, maybe once a month, imagine the change you could bring in your town or city. And we're happy to work alongside you. So again, 3,850 students have opted out sex education in Worcester. If you want to learn more about, just in general, our mission to get kids out of sex ed, I want you to text the word education to 87891. Text the word education to 87891. That is our short code, and you will get a return text with more information. And then we talked about the books tonight. We don't need to get too far into it because you guys have a pretty good idea of what's going on. We talked about the websites that your kids are sent to. Bedsider, I mean, some great names here, guys. Scarletine, Sex, etc. That they're being sent to by the curriculum. Dangerous transgender ideology. Why do 1 out of 5 kids today in Gen Z struggle with gender identity? 1 out of 5. That doesn't even include orientation. So when we talk about human sexuality, we're talking about half of our children are struggling, are confused, are questioning their human sexuality. When you start to question as a man, if you are a woman, that is going to have an effect on your emotions, on your physical, all parts of you that's going to affect, right? I mean, back in 2015, the DSM, right, the psychological journal, had called transgenderism a mental illness. Okay, now that is not hate speech. Okay, that was a medical understanding. And now 7 years later, we call it gender dysphoria, and now we're cutting off breasts and penises. Transgender is being promoted in our schools through various means, including anti-bullying programs like Jeff Parati's Safe Schools program for LGBTQ youth. The Triton schools had Jeff, I know, a few years back, okay, to have this presentation. Storybooks in the classroom, social transition parties, comprehensive sex education, diversity, equity, inclusion directors, books in school libraries like Beyond Magenta by Susan Kuklin. This is the Beyond Magenta book. In many of your school libraries, author and photographer Susan Kuklin interviewed 6 transgender or gender-neutral youth. And one of the quotes from the book, from 6 up, I used to kiss other guys in my neighborhood, make out with them, perform oral sex on them. I liked it. I used to love oral, and I touched their you-know-whats. We were young, but that's what we did. This is what's being taught for transgenderism in preschool through high school. So in our elementary schools, we have the gender-bred person, okay, that teaches kids that your gender comes from your brain and has nothing to do with your anatomy. So gender identity is a social construct, okay? So you remember that video on Libs of TikTok where the first grade teacher is like, well, I have to guess. The doctor has to guess what your gender is when you're born. I don't know if you guys saw this video or not. Okay, but of course the doctor has to guess because gender identity is a social construct and he has no idea what you're going to choose when you're 5 years old. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't. It's not medically accurate, but that's the interpretation kids are getting at school. The gender unicorn, with 5 different spectrums between male and female, with 70 different options in between, is taught in what grade? Preschool. 4-year-olds. 4-year-olds. And then you have the gender snowman, not snowman, snow person. Okay? So be aware of what they're being taught in your school. And then guys, check this out. This is high school.
Mike,
Right?
just a, oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
we'll get to Q&A later,
All right.
but I appreciate the question.
Yep. Your mic cut out.
The spectrum, this is in your high school, okay? This was sent to us.
Microphone.
Check.
Mike, your mic went out.
Somebody doesn't want me speaking.
Yeah, here we
All right, we're back. All right, so this is the spectrum, guys. Read this with me. Well, you don't have to read it out loud with me, okay? Because that might be kind of difficult with a crowd this size. But look, our sexuality and gender identity are not set in stone. Is that medically accurate?
No.
Thank you. In fact, people's identities can be fluid. The spectrum can help you visualize how you feel at any given time. Mark how you identify today in each line, but don't feel limited. It's okay to mark something different when? Someone say it. If you can read, maybe our eyesight's off, but tomorrow. So can your gender change in 24 hours? No. Okay, it's not medically accurate, guys. Okay? Look at this. Biological sex. What the doctor assigned you at birth between male and female. Okay, well, he has to guess. Gender presentation, how the world sees you. What if you were that 12-year-old boy where your voice hadn't changed like me as a 12-year-old and you were singing what section of the choir? Because you had a high voice. Soprano section, right? And in my generation in the mid-90s, giving away my age a little bit, but in the mid-90s when I was singing in the soprano section, I thought it was awesome. Because I was the only guy with all the girls, right? But today, if you're that same kid, little Johnny with all the girls, might you question?
Absolutely.
See the danger of how that could be a real slippery slope. So this is being taught, this was sent to us by a parent, like I said, on the North Shore. So fast facts about transgenderism, you'll find this on your table, the parent resource guide. I hope all of you take that home with you tonight. A very helpful tool to understand this whole transgender agenda. And some of the things mentioned in there, you'll find one study showed that when a teen announces a transgender identity to their peer group, the number of friends who also become transgender identified was 3.5 per group. This is a social contagion. This isn't something that kids are just going to deal with naturally most of the time. This is a social contagion, okay? Also, girls as young as 13 are undergoing double mastectomies, and boys as young as 17 are undergoing full genital sex reassignment surgeries. Also, we talked about surveys tonight from an organization called Panorama. This is one of the CRT surveys, and this question was sent to us by a parent in Hanover, Massachusetts. If you read the top, you can see how inappropriate this is. I would be willing to have a sexual relationship with a black person. They're asking that to 17-year-old girls. The English teacher who gave the survey told the students, the 17-year-old seniors in English class, think about that, okay, so it could show up anywhere, math class, English class, says lie about your age because you have to be 18 to take the survey. So she said change the date of your birth, okay, so we can take the survey together. So that was just one part, but now you're asking a 17-year-old girl amongst her peers and boys, would you like, I'm going to assume you have sexual relationships as a 17-year-old, 18-year-old, but then to say, would you have it with a black person? And if you hesitate one bit, well, you are a racist. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. The parent that saw this has about, I think she has like over 50,000 followers on Instagram. So she put it out there. She went to the school committee meeting, and they've done away with the survey. Okay, so good things are happening in that regard.
Just a reminder, stay nice and close.
I will, okay. Sure. So know what's being taught to your kids in the schools. Inappropriate books. We talked about the Sora app. This was revealed to us by our good friend Lori, who mentioned this was on, she probably doesn't mind me saying, it was on one of her children's phones. Okay, this is an app on your phone, and your kid gets a username and password, but you as the parent don't. Okay? And they can get all of this information right on their phone, and this is what they will get when they search under gender. and you'll find the gender queer book and all other kinds of pornographic explicit material on the app. Resources for parents in schools. So I mentioned Parent Resource Guide. Please take that with you home tonight. Also, if you haven't already, join the Massachusetts Informed Parents Facebook page. How many of you guys are on the Massachusetts Informed Parents Facebook page? Awesome. Okay, you want to get on that. If you're still on Facebook, get on MIP, and you'll join 8,000 parents in Massachusetts that share our same concerns and are sharing things that are going in their town and city. We're putting together a sex ed map for you. So like you can text the word Newburyport to 87891 or Danvers to 87891. We've done public records requests in pretty much every town and city. As that information comes back, we populate the map. Of the towns and cities that surround Newburyport, we have these different towns and cities. So I mentioned Danvers and Newburyport as the two we have information on. So if you live in those towns or cities or you have friends, text those words individually to 87891 tonight for more information. We can and we must act. Action changes things. Find out what is happening in your school district. Opt your child out of sex ed. Join MIP on Facebook. Schedule a parent forum for your church or community group. Petition your school district to teach SRA, which is sex risk avoidance, instead of CSE. Run for school committee. I want to encourage you guys. We put out a mass text. I don't know how many of you guys get our text, but we put out a mass text the other day, just one text saying run for school committee. We got almost 100 people to respond to run for school committee in Massachusetts. Okay? That was just one text. And start a local parents group and homeschool or private school. If you haven't noticed already, guys, there's a major movement to exit the public school. Have you guys noticed this? Right?
Absolutely.
In 2020, you know how much homeschooling went up in Massachusetts? From 1.5% to 12.1%. It was an 800% increase in homeschooling in Massachusetts. Actually, one of the largest increases in the nation happened in Massachusetts. So school trends, and I want to point this out, especially churches, guys. Churches are starting the one-room schoolhouse again, okay? That is a movement that is happening. A lot of people can't afford a private school if they want to get their kids out of the public school. So churches are starting learning pods, learning centers. There's a great church, I think it's called Great Rock, not too far from here in Peabody. Is it Danvers? Yeah. In Danvers. They just started a learning center, okay? And I hear great things about it, okay? If you want information on alternatives to the public school, I want you to text the word school option to 87891. Text the word school option to 87891 and you'll get a list, a pretty comprehensive list of about 100 different options in Massachusetts for you to choose from. So there you go. Text the word school option to 87891. At Massachusetts Family Institute, we'd much rather have, we'd love to see the return of prayer into schools. I think we'd all think that's a good thing, right? The return of biblical principles like love your neighbor. Would that be a great concept, right? To have back into our schools. So I want to tell you just an encouraging story. I told you about Lynn. This is Rosa in the middle. She wanted to start a Bible club at Linvo Tech a few years ago. So she put up posters. What do you think the principal told her?
Can't do it.
Take them down. There's a separation between church and state. So we had spoken at her church, so she knew who to call. She calls us. We sent a kind letter to her principal the same day. Same day the principal gets the letter, he goes back to Rosa and says, Rosa, I made a mistake. Please put your posters back up. She puts her posters back up. That spring, she sings a song, a worship song called Waymaker. I don't know if you guys have heard the song Waymaker. They sing it in Spanish at the talent show, and they win first place. Pretty cool, right? If you're interested in your church, your community group, even I had a grandparent that wanted to start a learning center in their living room, okay? Text the word POD to 87891 to get a vision for what we're trying to do with the return of the one-room schoolhouse. Run for school committee. Text the word school to 87891 and join the 100 people that already responded to run for school committee. We have an online training for you, whether you've run for school committee or you're doing it for the first time. Text the word school to 87891. I'm sure Sean Gallagher would absolutely love to have you on the school committee in Newburyport. Victory in Somerville. Did you guys know that in Somerville there's a 1,000-member Hispanic church called Vida Real? Vida Real wanted to start a Christian school in the city of Somerville. So do you think the Somerville subcommittee of the school committee wanted to okay this Christian school? Of course not. They said, you know, according to the law, you have to meet the standard of the public school in Somerville. Well, that's not too hard these days. But anyway, they said, well, in order to do that, you have to teach LGBTQ for human sexuality. Now, part of the whole reason Vida Real is starting a school is because they want to teach a biblical understanding of human sexuality, right? So we helped them. We had some attorneys show up at the school committee meeting, and lo and behold, they won 8-1 to start their school. So now they have the first Christian school in Somerville. Jennifer talked about parental rights and the attack on parental rights. In Ludlow, this school allegedly hid the information of a gender transition from parents. Okay, so now we have a federal lawsuit to challenge this violation of parental rights, and it could be that the first lawsuit like this, or one of the first to have a victory, might just come out of where? Massachusetts. Wouldn't that be great? Victory, no MIAA DEI pledge. If you can tell me what MIAA DEI means, I'll give you $5. No, probably that you guys are really educated. MIAA, you guys know what that is, right? Massachusetts Interscholastic Athletic Association. Okay, so Newburyport, part of the MIAA, right, for sports. They wanted to mandate the DEI pledge, the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion pledge, which basically means a lot of different things, but it also means that boys can play on girls' teams, right? Did you guys just see in North Carolina, the boy that slammed the volleyball onto the girl's face and, like, I think broke her nose or something? Okay, crazy. Anyway, our attorneys called the MIAA and said, this is unconstitutional. You can't force kids to take a pledge in order to play a sport. Would you guys agree with that? So they said, you know what, you're right. You caught us, okay? We shouldn't be doing it. So instead of really telling all these schools, from what I understand, they just kept silent, really didn't give much instruction to the schools. And so I called about 25 athletic directors and I said, did you get our kind letter about what's going on at the MIAA DEI pledge? And one athletic director said, yeah, I got your nasty letter. I was like, oh, I know where this is going. But I will tell you, the vast majority of the ADs that I called were on our page. Okay, one AD said, yeah, I got your letter. I forwarded it right away to council. They told us to take it off the website. Okay, so we are making a difference to keep things like this from being a slippery slope when it comes to human sexuality. This is the DEI pledge, and what we were concerned about, and maybe you as a parent might have seen this pledge in Newburyport, support the diversity, equity, and inclusion, sportsmanship, and game officials committees policy programs within the MIAA. That looks very sterile, right? You wouldn't think that's a big deal, so you probably just go ahead and sign it and be done with it. Get your kid registered and play the sport. But you have to understand what this really means. And so now, our understanding is that this is no longer mandated in Massachusetts. So a bunch of information on your table. I do not want to collect any information on tables when I leave tonight, so please take that information with you to educate you on what's going on. And more than anything, please leave your cell phone and your email address on the sign-up sheet on your table. Because guys, if you like the fact that we had 4,000 kids opt out in Worcester, the reason we were able to do that is because we had people's cell phones and we could text them information in Worcester specifically. We had 400 people text the word Worcester to 87891. So now we had 400 cell phones to start with in Worcester. Okay, so it makes a huge difference. So please leave your cell phone and your email address on those papers before you leave. If you'd like to get media that tells the stories I'm telling you tonight, you might not hear these in the Boston Globe, but you will hear them in the New Boston Post, okay? So newbostonpost.com for $40 a year. You can subscribe to a conservative online newspaper in Massachusetts. MFI, I just want to encourage you with this. So we are up against a lot of different organizations in Massachusetts that have millions of dollars to fight against the values that we believe in. For the first time in our 31-year history, we have $1 million budget, okay? So we're very proud of that, and we want to continue to hire people that can help you guys fight for liberty and fight for life and parental rights and all these things that we care about. Some of you were at our banquet recently where we had 520 people show up to celebrate our victories this year. quickest we've ever sold out in our history. So things are happening, guys. Be encouraged. Victories, even in Massachusetts, are happening. So more than anything, like I said at the beginning, I just want to encourage you that you are not alone and you are not crazy for having the understanding that you do of human sexuality, of these books, right? I want to encourage you to text one more keyword, because this is how we get information out, but with the books, I want you to text the word books to 87891. Text the word books to 87891. You will get a link and several other pieces of information, but one really important piece that many people are not aware of is you will get a link to a website called booklooks.org. Booklooks.org. And that is an incredible website that has already done an analysis of all of these books for you, okay? It's like getting cliff notes for all the concerning books in your library and gives you a 4 out of 5, a 5 out of 5, a 3 out of 5 analysis of those books. And then you can take that information to your school committee and just read it for 3 minutes. I'm telling you, that makes a huge difference when you do that. So I encourage you guys, show up at your school committee once a month. Take the 3 minutes that you have and just read a book, okay? And imagine if a fourth of you did that at the next school committee meeting. Would that be powerful? Of course it would. So guys, if we just get educated tonight, but we don't do anything with it, this is all a big waste of time, right? But if you join us in this effort, that's why we put these things out by keywords. Text word books to 87891. Join our 8 o'clock Zoom call on Monday nights. Meet parents from all over the state that are doing this exact thing. Get encouraged. Know that you're not alone. Because I'm telling you, I see it on the ground that parents are starting to win on these issues. They really are, even in Massachusetts. I mean, I'm looking at my friend Alex here from Wakefield. Just had a parent forum the other week, right? Had over 200 people register for that online, right? That's just in Wakefield, right? And how many kids left the public school, did you say, in Wakefield in the past 3 years?
200.
200. Just in Wakefield, right? You know how many kids left the public school in Worcester in the past 3 years? 1,000, okay? So this is a real thing, and you guys got to keep pushing the envelope, and we want to work with you to do that. So be encouraged. You are not alone, even in Massachusetts. Thanks so much.